Overhyped motorcycles, in my estimation, in my completely unbiased and totally hinged viewpoint. This is not unhinged in any way, shape, or form. Concours 14, kinda overhyped. Let me explain, okay, before you get mad. I get it, it's based on the ZX14. It makes a cajillion horsepower. It has like a 1400cc inline 4. It's 1352cc's to be exact, yammy noob. And that's why it's overhyped, because the people that buy it are the 45 plus crowd that think it's God's gift to mankind, but they don't remember the fact that the only reason they have one is because their wife said they couldn't have a Hayabusa. So, Concours 14 it is. It's really just a ZX14 with low testosterone. You know they make pills for that nowadays, right? But look, it's not that there's anything wrong with the Concours per se, but it really comes from guys who have ridden one for 20 years and haven't sampled anything new, and they say, oh, they don't make them like they used to. And I'm like, my guy, have you tried the H2 SX SE? That thing's a beast. Maybe if you try a supercharger, your testosterone levels will come up a little bit. Speaking of low testosterone, metric cruisers. Why? Okay, yes, it's irrefutable that they provide more value for money and they are objectively more reliable than normal American cruisers, right? So, end of conversation. You got Honda Shadows, Suzuki Boulevards, and of course, the Kawasaki Vulcans. But we're not talking Vulcan 650, that's a little too much even for my taste. But metric cruiser riders always jump online thinking that they are the smartest individuals in the world because they paid $2,000 for a motorcycle that vaguely resembles a Harley-Davidson. And to me, that's kind of like thinking you got the best deal of the house on the block because you purchased it without any of the electrical wiring inside of it. Metric cruisers are not a financial hack. You are getting what you're paying for. The market has determined that because Japan made a boatload of these, they're just not that desirable. And quite frankly, they don't have a whole lot of flavor and character, which is not something that I ever thought I would say, okay? I'm not the first guy to say, oh my God, I'd love to have an Indian or Harley-Davidson, but really, when I look at a metric cruiser versus those, I'm like, I think I would rather have a Sportster. I don't know. And look, as I said, for the Vulcan 650, that's like a Chinese knockoff of an American bike that's a Japanese knockoff of the other thing. Like the Vulcan 650 is like 2 layers removed from knockoffs. And to me, it's just a bit inexcusable. Pan America, massively overhyped. Harley-Davidson saw the flagship adventure segment and they thought to themselves, hey, we are the leading brand at extracting money from dummies with too much of it, so how the hell do we get in on this? Well, cue in the Pan America. So they tossed over the project to a couple of interns who dropped a road glide fairing on top of a pretty prototypical adventure bike and kind of called it a day. Die-hard Harley-Davidson people think that the Pan America is a dirt bike, and ADV enthusiasts think that it's just a cash grab, even though, relatively speaking, the Pan America is pretty decently priced in Harley universe terms. And for me personally, I think the Pan America is just interesting enough to get people into the dealership so that the salesman can shill some more wallet chains and t-shirts at these people, because that's where Harley-Davidson's gonna make real margin, baby. And unfortunately, much like Trump merchandise, you zoom in a little too close and it will probably say made in China. This next one pains me, but I think we're officially at the point where we have to call this bike overhyped. The R6 is a good bike. There's no doubt about it. It's the most winning 600 ever created. It's a very good motorcycle on track, but at the end of the day, it is just a Japanese 600. Jesus Christ. It's not God's gift to mankind, it's not worth $18,000, and it certainly doesn't make you special for riding one. If I had $1 for every cringe R6 video I've come across on my time on the internet, I'd have enough to retire from doing YouTube. But instead, I am forced to do this by some great Machiavellian god who makes me make these motorcycle videos for some reason. And let's be honest, it's not that R6 people hate the R9 and they'd never trade in their R6 for one. It's really because they just can't afford one. And that's okay, because it's gonna be expensive to get full coverage insurance on a bike that you don't own outright after you've had 7 reckless driving violations on your record. But that's just R6 life, man. What are you gonna do? Okay, we're bringing out the big guns now. I really genuinely believe the BMW S1000RR has become overhyped. I'll say it. It's a flagship superbike coveted by Sigma and Alpha males alike. But really the S1000RR is just what happens when a K5 Gixxer just starts mainlining crypto scams and gets a little too involved in entrepreneurial self-help content online. The S1000RR would definitely be a linkfluencer. I crashed my bike doing wheelies today. This is how it impacted my B2B sales. And truthfully, art imitates life. The S1000RR is a lot like the people who own them. Zero personality. Man, I mean, really, what does an S1000RR's owner's brain and bank account have in common? Well, they're both empty. The only way to become less likable than riding an S1000RR is to pick up the keys to a lightly used BMW sedan. If your For You page is filled with S1000RR content, there is a non-zero chance that you're also having some Andrew Tate videos sprinkled in there too. The 1390 Super Duke Evo. A little overhyped in my opinion. This bike is KTM's way of saying they play by their own rules, which has not really panned out very well for them, given that they are literally bankrupt right now. Turns out you gotta play by some of those rules. I do think it's very funny that KTM's branding for the last like 3 years has been like all edgy, and they go, no bullshit, we're supermotors and we're sliding and hooligans. And they're like, shit, we're in financial dookie again. Beans. It's like you can't be a badass and also be like, man, I'm kind of broken. I don't know what to do now. The Super Duke 1390 Evo is a 1350cc V-twin monster naked bike that is the only motorcycle that has ever involuntarily been taken to an anger management class. Doesn't it kind of feel like the 1390 Super Duke was the twin with a Duke 790 in the womb, and it just like took all of the nutrients away from that motorcycle and just became like engorged? Have you ever seen anything like that in real life? I have, and it's really weird. You just look at two twins and you're like, man, one of you really fought in there, huh? Holy crap. The current Super Duke is so powerful and so torquey that it literally needs a gaming PC's worth of electronics shoved inside of the engine to make it rideable for the average guy who barely knows how to twist the throttle. So in my estimation, if you want a Super Duke, you should get a 2015 model with no traction control and no ABS and be a real man. Livewire, the only motorcycle from Harley-Davidson that is expensive and all black that you can't even straight pipe, so what the hell is even the point? Definitely overhyped. I think we're coming close to their final crazy estimation of sales figures they wanted to do. They wanted to sell like 50,000 motorcycles a year or something. Yeah, how's that going? Yeah. Livewire really reads to me like a weird tech startup that was funded completely by the founder's dad. It should have really failed by now, but good old Daddy HD just keeps on shoving the greenbacks inside of the books. I say, you'll get them next quarter, son. Don't worry. You got this. We'll keep pumping cash in there. It's all good, baby. It's all gravy. Come on! And I'm sure all those government incentives aren't hurting either, to be honest. Look, I'm just saying, if you're gonna spend $20,000 on an electric bike with 110 miles of range, it should come with an anatomically correct AI girlfriend that's gonna sit on the back with you, because that's as close to getting laid as you're ever gonna get as a Livewire owner. The Rocket 3, Triumph's ball-busting 2.5-liter motorcycle. Look, no one can say that this bike isn't cool, but perhaps a teensy bit overhyped. Shall we agree? There's nothing cooler than making a gigantic and stupidly powerful motorcycle just for the hell of it, but we can all agree the practicality's kind of been thrown out the window with this bike, right? It's sort of an absurd value proposition. Who the hell needs a motorcycle that makes 165 foot-pounds of torque? Certainly not if you're some YouTuber who turbocharged a Hayabusa just for the memes and the validation and attention-seeking behavior that you never got when you were younger, and so you created this stupid Hayabusa that you promoted and paraded around on the internet so that you could show the gigantic torque figures that it made after months and if not years of hardships and services with it, near misses and crashes and oil spills and all kinds of crazy nonsense with that bike. But nobody should do that, right? But the one guy that should is probably in his 40s, is a little bit on the shorter side, has an addiction to creatine, and drives a diesel truck. That's probably who owns a Rocket 3, because I don't know who the hell else would. The Diavel V4. Sort of overhyped in my opinion. It's a muscle cruiser that literally nobody asked for. Nobody was like, oh, Ducati, make this. Like, nobody asked for this thing. It's almost like if the VMAX was like binge watching The Sopranos and just scarfing down some gabagool, you know? I think if anyone says that the Diavel is one of the most beautiful motorcycles ever made, we should probably get the FBI to raid their house and double check their hard drives, because they've probably got some sick stuff in there. I mean, Diavel owners are so delusional that the forums are riddled with people saying that the only people that criticize their motorcycles are because they're jealous of them. Who's jealous that you spent $25,000 on an Italian Harley-Davidson? Nobody. And the quad exhaust tips on the new Diavel is giving me trypophobia. And we all agree the Sportster S is overhyped, right? I've not even seen one of these out in the wild ever. And it's the reason that Harley-Davidson should not try to make sporty motorcycles. This thing looks like an AI rendition of a prompt that says, make a motorcycle that's a flat track bike, but also a Tonka truck. Who the hell would put a 160 up front? It looks ridiculous. You know the Sportster S is down bad when the Evo Sportster looks like a better buy. There's no amount of liquid cooling or peak horsepower that's gonna make me look past that front tire. It's inexcusable and laughably silly. You look at the right side of the bike and you say, wow, that exhaust is ugly. Then you look on the left side and you say, oh, I guess they didn't finish the motorcycle. As always, boys, thanks so much for checking out today's video. It's all in good fun. Let's have some laughs here. Let's be a little unhinged on the channel. Let's just be. Why not? You could do anything. I'm just some guy on YouTube. I can do whatever I want. No one can stop me, baby. Subscribe if you haven't. Drop a comment. Join on the Discord. And yeah, that's it. That's the video, baby. It's over. But it's never really over though, is it? It's not. It's not. It's never over. It's never really over, is it? It's never really over, is it? It's never really over, is it? Keep watching Yamah Noob.